The space research ship Celestial Seeker moved silently above Earth, hidden by technology that made it invisible to human radar and telescopes. The ship belonged to the Galactic Confederation, a group of over 300 alien species who had joined together to explore space and share knowledge. Dr. Zalvorn stood at the main window, his tall, slender body casting a long shadow across the polished floor. His skin had a blue-gray color, and his 4 eyes blinked in different patterns as he watched the blue planet below. He had studied humans for 30 Earth years, but always from a distance. "Captain Zinn, we are in position," he said, turning to face the ship's leader. Captain Ilara Zinn nodded. She was shorter than Zalvorn, but commanded respect with her direct gaze and confident voice. "Begin collecting the samples. Remember, we must not be seen." The Confederation had strict rules about contacting new species. They watched and waited until a planet developed certain technologies before making themselves known. Earth had recently passed this point, and now it was time to learn more about humans before the first official meeting. "We need genetic samples from different human populations," Dr. Zalvorn told his team. "Our analysis must be thorough." Small, drone-like devices left the ship, heading toward cities across Earth. They were programmed to collect hair, skin cells, and other small samples. Without being noticed, the drones would return within hours, and then the real work would begin. On Earth, life continued as normal. No one knew about the visitors above them. Frank Miller floated inside the International Space Station, carefully adjusting a camera that pointed toward Earth. As a NASA astronaut, he had spent 3 months in space on this mission. The view still amazed him every day. "Frank, come look at this," called Susan Grant, his fellow astronaut. She was staring at a screen showing radar data. "What is it?" Frank pushed himself across the station to float beside her. "Something strange." Susan pointed to a blip on the screen. It appeared for just a second, then vanished. Too big to be space junk, too small for an asteroid. Frank looked closely. Could be a glitch. Third one today. Always in the same area. Susan's face showed concern. "I think we should report it." Back on the ground, Dr. Alan White sat in his office at the Global Genetics Institute in Washington, D.C. Papers covered his desk, and 3 empty coffee cups showed how long he had been working. At 45, he was one of the world's leading experts on human genetics. His latest research focused on unusual patterns in DNA that seemed to have no clear purpose. His phone rang, breaking his concentration. Dr. White speaking. "Alan, it's Paul from NASA. Something strange is happening. We need your expertise." Dr. White's eyebrows rose. "NASA needs a geneticist? Not just any geneticist, we need you. How quickly can you get to Houston?" 12 hours later, Dr. White sat in a secure room at NASA headquarters with 5 government officials and 2 military officers. The room had no windows and everyone had to leave their phones outside. "What I'm about to tell you is classified," said the woman who had introduced herself only as Director Hansen. "The International Space Station has detected something in orbit around Earth. We have reason to believe it's not from our world." Dr. White laughed, then realized no one else was smiling. "You're serious? Aliens?" "We've been tracking unusual radiation signatures. And there's this." She slid a small glass container across the table. Inside was what looked like a tiny metal insect, no bigger than a housefly. "We found 3 of these so far, 2 in Beijing, 1 in London. They appear to be collecting biological samples." "Doctor," White picked up the container. "And you think these are alien drones?" "We know they are." Hansen's voice was firm. "The materials aren't from Earth, and they're specifically targeting human DNA. On the Celestial Seeker, the collection was almost complete. Hundreds of samples had been gathered from humans across the planet. Dr. Zalvorn prepared the genetic analysis chamber, a room filled with equipment far more advanced than anything on Earth. "Begin the standard scanning sequence," he told his assistant Tivry, a younger member of his species. Tivry's hands moved across the control panel. "The results will be ready in 6 hours. What do you expect to find?" "The usual evolutionary markers. DNA tells the story of a species' development. Dr. Zalvorn's voice held the confidence of someone who had done this hundreds of times. Humans evolved from primates on this planet. Their DNA will show a clear path of natural selection and random mutations. Nothing surprising. As the machines worked, Captain Zinn called an urgent meeting. Our drones are missing. 3 have not returned. Impossible, said the security officer. Humans don't have technology that could detect our drones, let alone capture them. Nevertheless, 3 are gone. Captain Zinn's face showed concern. We may need to speed up our plans. If humans have our technology, even these simple collection drones, it could change things. Back on Earth, an emergency meeting of world leaders was being held through secure video links. The evidence was clear. Earth was being visited, and the visitors were collecting human genetic material. What do they want with our DNA? Asked the French president. No one had an answer. Dr. White was now working with a team of international scientists examining the drone. The technology is incredible, he told Director Hansen. And look at this storage unit. It's designed specifically to preserve genetic material. Can you tell what they're looking for? She asked. No, but they're being very thorough. Dr. White looked troubled. Whatever they're searching for, they want samples from all over the world. Different ethnic groups, different regions. In space, the analysis machines on the Celestial Seeker began showing results. Dr. Zalvorn watched the genetic codes appear on the large screen in front of him. At first, everything seemed normal. Then the machine paused. What's happening? Asked Tivri. It's found something unexpected. Dr. Zalvorn leaned forward. The system is double-checking. The screen filled with new data. Dr. Zalvorn's 4 eyes widened. He stepped back, his hand covering his mouth in shock. This can't be right, he whispered. Run it again. Tivri obeyed, and the same results appeared. What is it? What's wrong? Dr. Zalvorn's voice shook as he spoke. Contact Captain Zinn immediately. We need to speak with the High Council. Why? What did you find? Dr. Zalvorn stared at the human DNA sequence glowing on the screen. Something impossible. Something that changes everything we thought we knew about humans and ourselves. On Earth, Frank Miller and Susan Grant watched from the International Space Station as a massive ship suddenly appeared in orbit near them, no longer hidden. First contact was about to begin, and it would start with a revelation that would shake the foundations of human understanding forever. The Celestial Seeker remained visible in Earth's orbit. After decades of secrecy, the Galactic Confederation had decided that immediate contact was necessary. Their discovery in human DNA had changed everything. World governments scrambled to respond. Military forces went on high alert, but they all knew their weapons would be useless against visitors who could cross the stars. We need to establish communication, Dr. Alan White told the Emergency Council gathered at the United Nations. And I believe I know what they want. The council room was filled with leaders and scientists from across the globe. Fear and excitement mixed in the air. They're studying our genetic makeup, Dr. White continued. Their drones were collecting DNA samples. Whatever they found has prompted them to reveal themselves. The UN Secretary General nodded. We've received a transmission. They want to meet with a delegation of scientists. Dr. White, they specifically asked for you. 24 hours later, Dr. White and 5 other scientists from different countries boarded a special aircraft. It would take them to a neutral meeting point in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, where the aliens had agreed to make first contact. Dr. White looked out the window at the ocean below. What could they have found in our DNA that was so important? Beside him, Dr. Nancy Howard, a geneticist from London University, shook her head. I've spent my life studying human genetics. There's nothing in our DNA that should surprise an advanced alien civilization. The meeting took place on a large naval vessel. The world watched through live broadcasts as a small shuttle descended from the Celestial Seeker. It landed on the deck of the ship, and 3 aliens emerged. Dr. Zalvorn led the group. His blue-gray skin and 4 eyes caused gasps from the human delegation. Behind him came Captain Zinn and Tivri, both equally strange to human eyes. "We greet you in peace," Dr. Zalvorn said, his words translated through a device he carried. "We are representatives of the Galactic Confederation, a union of species from many star systems." The formal introductions lasted an hour. Then the real discussions began in a private room with only the scientists present. "You've been studying our DNA," Dr. White said when they were alone. "What did you find?" Dr. Zalvorn's four eyes blinked, in sequence. "We have analyzed thousands of species across the galaxy. Life evolves in predictable patterns, with clear genetic histories showing how each species developed on their homeworld," Captain Zinn added. "Your DNA should show your evolution from earlier primates on this planet. And it does, partly. But there is more." "What do you mean, more?" asked Dr. Howard. Dr. Zalvorn touched a device on his wrist, and a holographic display appeared above the table. It showed strands of DNA spinning slowly. "This is standard human DNA as you know it," he explained. Then he touched another control, and certain sections of the DNA lit up in different colors. "These sections do not match evolutionary patterns. They do not belong." The human scientists leaned forward, studying the display. "Are you saying parts of our DNA are not natural?" Dr. White asked. "Exactly," Tivri said. "These sections were inserted into your genetic code. They are not the result of natural evolution." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "You're claiming that someone altered human DNA?" Dr. Howard's voice was skeptical. "That's impossible. Who would have done this when?" Dr. Zalvorn's voice became grave. "That is what horrifies us. These genetic insertions are extremely advanced. They contain sequences we have never seen before, from species unknown, even to the Confederation. Some of these changes appear to be at least 300,000 of your Earth years old," Captain Zinn added. "Others are more recent, perhaps 50,000 years ago. There were multiple interventions in your genetic development." Dr. White's mind raced. "Are you saying humans were engineered?" "Not entirely," Dr. Zalvorn explained. "Your base species evolved naturally on Earth, but something has been modifying your genetics for thousands of generations. Subtle changes, guiding your development." Back at the Celestial Seeker, more tests were being conducted. The genetic analysis chamber had been working non-stop since the discovery. "We need to understand the purpose of these modifications," Dr. Zalvorn had told his team before leaving for the meeting. What were they trying to create? The alien scientists worked carefully, studying each unusual section of human DNA. Some parts seemed designed to enhance intelligence. Others affected physical strength and endurance. But the most puzzling sections appeared inactive, as if waiting for something. On the naval vessel, Dr. White and the human delegation were struggling to accept what they were hearing. "If what you're saying is true, then who did this to us? And why?" asked a Chinese geneticist. Dr. Zalvorn spread his long fingers in a gesture of uncertainty. "We do not know. The genetic technology is beyond even our understanding. Whoever did this possesses science far more advanced than the Confederation's." Captain Zinn stepped forward. "There is more troubling news. Some of the modifications appear designed to activate under specific conditions." "Activate? What does that mean?" Dr. White asked. "These dormant sections of your DNA could potentially change humans in dramatic ways if triggered," Tivri explained. "Like genetic instructions waiting for the right signal." Dr. Howard shook her head. "This sounds like science fiction. We need proof." "We will share our findings," Dr. Zalvorn agreed. "Your scientists can verify our work." As the meeting continued, a message came from the Celestial Seeker. Tivri read it and whispered urgently to Dr. Zalvorn and Captain Zinn. Dr. Zalvorn's four eyes widened. "We must return to our ship immediately." "What's happening?" Dr. White demanded. Captain Zinn looked at the humans with what seemed like concern. "Our scientists have found something even more disturbing in your genetic code, something we've seen only once before in the ruins of a dead civilization." "What is it?" Dr. White asked. "We call it the Omega sequence," Dr. Zalvorn said quietly. and its presence in your DNA may explain why someone engineered your species. As the alien delegation prepared to leave, Dr. White grabbed Dr. Salvorn's arm. You can't just drop this on us and leave. What is this Omega sequence? What does it do? Dr. Salvorn hesitated, then spoke in a low voice. It appears to be a key. A genetic key that unlocks abilities no natural species should possess. And according to our latest analysis, it may be preparing to activate. Why is that a problem? Dr. White asked. Dr. Salvorn's reply sent chills through the human delegation. Because the last time we encountered the Omega sequence, an entire species transformed overnight. And then they vanished from the galaxy without a trace. The news spread across Earth quickly. Humans had not evolved naturally. Their DNA contained engineered elements created by an unknown advanced civilization. World leaders tried to maintain calm, but panic was growing. Dr. Alan White and Dr. Nancy Howard were invited to the Celestial Seeker to see the evidence firsthand. They boarded a shuttle along with 3 other human scientists. As they approached the alien ship, its true size became clear. It was massive, at least a mile long. Welcome to our research vessel. Tivri greeted them as they stepped into a large room with curved walls and soft lighting. Dr. Salvorn is waiting in the genetic analysis chamber. The humans followed Tivri through corridors filled with strange technology. Other aliens of different species watched them with curious eyes. How many different alien races are in the Confederation? Dr. White asked. 327 at present, Tivri replied. We are among the oldest members. They reached the analysis chamber where Dr. Salvorn was studying complex displays of genetic information. The room was filled with equipment unlike anything the humans had seen before. Thank you for coming, Dr. Salvorn said. We have discovered more about the changes to your DNA. He guided them to a large central display showing human genetic code. Parts of it were highlighted in different colors. These sections here were added approximately 300,000 years ago, he explained, pointing to blue sections. They accelerated brain development and language skills. He moved his long finger to red sections. These modifications came later, roughly 100,000 years ago. They enhanced your immune system and physical adaptability. Who did this? Dr. Howard asked. And why modify our ancestors at different times? Dr. Salvorn's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. We do not know who, but we can see they were monitoring your development, making adjustments to guide your evolution in specific directions. Like a long-term experiment, one of the other human scientists said. Possibly, Captain Zinn said as she entered the room, or preparing you for some purpose. Dr. White moved closer to the display. You mentioned something called the Omega sequence. Can you show us? The aliens glanced at each other. Then Dr. Salvorn touched a control, and new sections appeared, glowing, in bright green. These are scattered throughout your genome, he explained. They appear dormant now, but our analysis suggests they could activate under certain conditions. What conditions? Dr. Howard asked. Specific types of radiation, Tivri said, similar to what is produced by certain stellar events. Dr. White studied the display. And what happens if these sequences activate? Based on our models, Dr. Salvorn said slowly, they would cause rapid changes in neural pathways, cell structure, and possibly even consciousness itself. Captain Zinn added, the only other time we found similar sequences was in artifacts from a civilization known as the Vela. They inhabited a star system about 12,000 light-years from here. What happened to them? Dr. White asked. According to historical records, the Vela experienced a sudden shift. Their entire species changed almost overnight. Their technology advanced dramatically, and they developed abilities we still do not understand. Then they simply disappeared. Disappeared, Dr. Howard repeated. How can an entire civilization disappear? We do not know, Captain Zinn admitted. Some believe they destroyed themselves. Others think they evolved beyond physical form. Meanwhile, on Earth, tensions were growing. Not everyone believed the aliens' claims. Some saw it as a trick to control humanity or prepare for invasion. Military forces remained on high alert. Protests occurred in major cities. Religious leaders debated what it meant for humanity's place in the universe. Frank Miller and Susan Grant watched from the International Space Station. They had a unique view of both Earth and the alien ship. "What do you think is really happening?" Susan asked as they looked out at the celestial seeker. "I don't know," Frank replied. "But if they wanted to harm us, they could have done it long ago." Back on the alien ship, Dr. White had convinced the aliens to share their technology so human scientists could verify their findings. A team was now working with equipment provided by the Confederation. "The evidence is conclusive," Dr. Howard told Dr. White after 3 days of testing. "They're telling the truth. Parts of our DNA don't follow natural evolutionary patterns." Dr. White nodded. "But there's something they're not telling us. I've noticed how they react whenever the Omega sequence is mentioned. They're afraid of—" "'Cause wouldn't you be?" Dr. Howard asked. "An unknown species engineered us possibly as some kind of experiment and built in genetic triggers that could change us completely." That night, Dr. White couldn't sleep. He wandered the section of the ship assigned to the human delegation. Most of the other scientists were sleeping. Moving quietly, he made his way to a terminal they had been allowed to use. Dr. White had been studying the alien computer systems. He had learned enough to access certain files. What he found confirmed his suspicions. The Confederation was debating whether humans were a threat that needed to be contained or even eliminated. One report stated, "If the Omega sequence activates, billions of humans could transform simultaneously. The potential danger to the galaxy cannot be overstated." Another document detailed plans to prevent activation. Possible solutions include gene therapy to remove the sequence, planetary quarantine, or in extreme cases, sterilization of the system. Sterilization of the system. Dr. White knew what that meant. They were considering destroying Earth. He quickly downloaded as much information as he could to a device he carried. Then he returned to his room to study it. The next morning, Dr. White shared his discovery with the other human scientists. "They see us as a potential threat," he told them. "A ticking bomb someone else created. We need to warn Earth," Dr. Howard said. But as they prepared to return to their planet, solar monitoring stations detected unusual activity. A massive solar flare was building, larger than any recorded in human history. Dr. Zalvorn rushed into the room where the humans were gathering. "We must leave this system immediately," he said, his voice urgent. "The radiation from this solar event matches what would trigger the Omega sequence." "You're abandoning us?" Dr. White demanded. "We cannot risk exposure," Captain Zinn said, as she joined them. "The Confederation has ordered evacuation of all ships in the system. What about Earth? Billions of people will be exposed." Dr. Howard protested. "We cannot interfere," Captain Zinn replied. "Whatever happens was set in motion long before we arrived." As the aliens prepared to leave, Dr. White faced Dr. Zalvorn. "You're afraid of what we might become, aren't you?" All 4 of Dr. Zalvorn's eyes focused on him. "Yes," he admitted, "because whoever engineered your species had technology far beyond ours, and they built you to transform into something that might surpass even them." Chaos erupted when the human scientists returned to Earth with news that the Confederation was leaving. The massive alien ship was already moving away from Earth orbit, along with several smaller vessels that had arrived later. "They're abandoning us because they're scared of what might happen when the solar flare hits," Dr. White told the Emergency Council at the United Nations. "According to their data, the radiation will reach Earth in less than 48 hours. Governments worldwide began emergency preparations. Some people headed for underground shelters. Others believed nothing would happen. Many turned to prayer." "What exactly should we expect?" asked the UN Secretary General, looking tired and worried. Dr. Howard displayed the data they had brought back from the Celestial Seeker. "Based on the alien research, the radiation will trigger changes in the dormant sections of our DNA. What those changes will do to us is unknown." "Could it kill us?" someone asked. "Possibly," Dr. White admitted. "Or it could transform us in ways we can't predict. The aliens found evidence of another civilization that went through something similar. They either destroyed themselves or evolved beyond physical form. In space, Frank Miller and Susan Grant received orders to return to Earth immediately. NASA was sending a special shuttle to retrieve them from the International Space Station. We could stay here, Frank suggested as they prepared for departure. The station has radiation shielding. Susan shook her head. Not enough for what's coming, and I'd rather face this with everyone else than hide up here. As the solar flare grew, unusual phenomena began occurring around the world. Electronic devices malfunctioned. Animals behaved strangely. Some people reported headaches and vivid dreams. Dr. White worked around the clock with scientists worldwide, trying to understand the alien data and prepare for what was coming. Sleep-deprived and stressed, he rested his head on his desk for just a moment. A strange dream came to him. He saw beings of light moving among stars. They spoke without words, sharing thoughts directly. We seeded many worlds, they seemed to tell him. You are one of our final hopes. Dr. White woke with a start as Dr. Howard shook his shoulder. Alan, wake up. Something's happening. He followed her to a monitoring station where scientists were tracking the solar flare. It's accelerating, one of them said. Impact in 6 hours, not 24 as we predicted. Dr. White felt a strange calm despite the crisis. We need to broadcast a message to everyone. Tell them not to be afraid. Not be afraid? Dr. Howard looked at him like he had lost his mind. Why would you say that? I don't know, he admitted. Just a feeling. Around the world, the strange phenomena increased. Some people collapsed, while others reported feeling unusually energetic. Children seemed to be handling the changes better than adults. 3 hours before the solar flare was expected to hit, several world leaders gathered via video conference. Should we attempt to contact the Confederation? Asked the British Prime Minister. Perhaps they would reconsider helping us. They're long gone, the Russian president replied. We face this alone. Dr. White, who had been listening quietly, suddenly spoke up. We're not alone. We never were. Everyone turned to look at him. What do you mean, Dr. White? Asked the UN. Secretary General, whoever engineered our DNA has been guiding our development for hundreds of thousands of years, he explained. They wouldn't have put so much work into us just to let us destroy ourselves. That's merely speculation, someone objected. Maybe, Dr. White admitted. But I believe the changes coming aren't random. They're planned. We're meant to survive this. As the hours passed, more people reported unusual experiences. Some claimed to hear thoughts from others. Children began drawing similar pictures of light beings even in different parts of the world. In Houston, Frank Miller and Susan Grant had just landed when Susan grabbed Frank's arm. Do you feel that? She asked, her eyes wide. Frank nodded. There was a strange buzzing sensation in his head, like standing near high-voltage power lines. It's beginning, Susan whispered. At the Global Genetics Institute, Dr. White and Dr. Howard monitored the changes in human brain activity worldwide. The patterns were unlike anything they had seen before. Neural activity is increasing in synchronized waves, Dr. Howard reported. It's as if billions of brains are starting to operate in harmony. Dr. White felt it too, a growing awareness of other minds at first faint then stronger, not just hearing thoughts but feeling emotions, sharing memories. We need to document everything, he said, though his voice sounded distant to his own ears. Future generations will need to understand what happened here. Dr. Howard looked at him strangely. You talk as if you're certain there will be future generations. I am, he replied, with unexpected confidence. 1 hour before the peak of the solar flare, something unexpected happened. The celestial seeker returned, appearing suddenly in Earth orbit. We have received a transmission, a military officer reported. Dr. Zalvorn is asking to speak with Dr. White urgently. On the video screen, Dr. Zalvorn's alien face showed clear signs of stress. Dr. White, we have detected unusual energy signatures. Coming from Earth, your people are already changing. Yes, Dr. White agreed. We can feel it. The Confederation ordered us to leave this system, Dr. Zalvorn continued. But my science team and I could not abandon you without understanding what is happening. We have been observing from a distance. And what have you learned? Dr. White asked. The changes are not random. They appear highly organized, following a precise pattern. This is not merely activation of dormant DNA. It is transformation according to a specific design. All four of Dr. Zalvorn's eyes blinked rapidly. Dr. White, we have detected similar energy patterns from 17 other star systems across the galaxy, all at exactly the same time. Dr. White felt a wave of understanding wash over him. We're not alone, he said. There are others like us. Yes, Dr. Zalvorn confirmed. Other engineered species, all changing simultaneously. This was planned on a galactic scale. The peak of the solar flare hit Earth 30 minutes later. For a brief time, all electronic communications failed. When they returned, the world had changed forever. Dr. White stood at the window of the institute, looking out at people in the street below. They appeared the same physically, but he could sense the difference. Everyone could. Minds touched minds, sharing thoughts and feelings across distances. What are we becoming? Dr. Howard asked, standing. Beside him, Dr. White smiled. What we were always meant to be, this is just the beginning. In orbit, Dr. Zalvorn watched the readings from Earth with a mixture of fear and wonder. The energy patterns emanating from the planet were unlike anything recorded in Confederation history. Should we attempt communication? Tivry asked. They are already communicating, Dr. Zalvorn replied. Not just with each other, but with the other transformed species across the galaxy. We can detect the signals, but cannot understand them. Captain Zinn joined them on the bridge. The High Council is demanding our return. They fear what humanity is becoming. Dr. Zalvorn turned all four eyes toward Earth. They are right to fear it. But I believe they are wrong about the nature of the threat. What do you mean? Captain Zinn asked. Whoever engineered humans and these other species has power far beyond our understanding, Dr. Zalvorn explained. They did not create weapons. They created heirs. 3 months after the solar flare, Earth had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Humans looked the same on the outside, but their minds had transformed completely. Dr. Alan White stood on the roof of the Global Genetics Institute looking at the evening sky. He could sense thousands of minds around him in the city, each unique yet connected to a greater whole. People still maintained their individuality, but they also shared a group awareness that linked all of humanity. The Confederation ships are returning, Dr. Nancy Howard said as she joined him on the roof. More this time, at least 30 vessels. Dr. White nodded. They want to understand what we've become. Since the transformation, humans had developed abilities that seemed impossible before. They could share thoughts across any distance. Children born after the event showed even stronger abilities, including moving objects with their minds and seeing possible futures. The greatest change was in how people lived together. War had ended almost overnight when people could feel each other's pain directly. Old hatreds faded when everyone understood each other's perspectives and histories. New forms of government emerged based on true consensus rather than power. Do you think they're afraid of us? Dr. Howard asked, looking up at the stars where the alien ships would soon appear. Yes, Dr. White replied. We've become something they don't understand, something that might be more advanced than they are. In orbit around Earth, the celestial seeker had remained to observe humanity's transformation. Dr. Zalvorn had defied orders to stay, risking his career and possibly his freedom. His research team had documented everything, sending regular reports back to the Confederation despite orders to cease all contact. The High Council is arriving, Tivry told Dr. Zalvorn as they watched Earth from the observation deck. They want to see for themselves and judge whether humanity is a threat, Dr. Zalvorn added. His four eyes blinked slowly. They do not understand what is happening here. Captain Zinn entered the room. The Council ship has docked. They're requesting your presence immediately. The High Council of the Galactic Confederation consisted of 7 members from the oldest and most advanced species. They rarely left their homeworlds. Their arrival showed how seriously they viewed the situation. Dr. Salvorn stood before them in the ship's grand meeting chamber, feeling small beneath their stern gazes. "You disobeyed direct orders," the first counselor said. "You remained to study the humans despite the risk." "Yes," Dr. Salvorn admitted. "I believed it was necessary for scientific understanding." "And what have you learned?" asked another counselor. Dr. Salvorn activated a display showing Earth. "The humans have developed a collective consciousness while maintaining individual identity. They can share thoughts, memories, and emotions instantly across any distance. Some show abilities we would consider impossible." "As we feared," the first counselor said, "they have become a potential threat to the stability of the galaxy." "I disagree," Dr. Salvorn replied boldly. "They have eliminated conflict among themselves. They seek knowledge, not power. That could change." A third counselor warned. "Other species have started peacefully only to become conquerors." The debate continued for hours. Finally, the council decided to send representatives to speak directly with human leaders. On Earth, Dr. White received the message that the Confederation wished to meet. He was chosen to lead the human delegation, along with Dr. Howard and government, representatives from around the world. They want to determine if we're dangerous, Dr. White told the others as they prepared for the meeting. "We need to show them we're not." "Can we do that?" asked a former world leader. "We've changed so much in such a short time. Even we don't fully understand what we're becoming." Dr. White smiled. "We'll be honest about that. Honesty is all we can offer." The meeting took place in a large open field outside Geneva. The Confederation landed several small ships, and representatives of 17 different alien species emerged. The High Council members came last, their ancient bodies supported by floating devices. Dr. Salvorn stood with them, looking both nervous and excited. When he saw Dr. White, he moved forward to greet him. "Your transformation has caused great concern in the Confederation," he said quietly. "They fear what you might become." "We understand," Dr. White replied. "Change is often frightening." The formal meeting began with each side explaining their positions. The Confederation expressed concerns about humanity's rapid evolution and the potential threat to galactic stability. The humans shared their experiences and their hopes for peaceful coexistence. "We are still learning what we have become," Dr. White told the council. "But we know we don't wish to conquer or control others." "Yet you could," the first counselor said. "Our scientists have measured your growing abilities. You could potentially overpower many of our member species." "We could," Dr. White agreed. "But that's not our path." As they spoke, a strange signal was detected coming from deep space. The Confederation technicians looked alarmed. "What is it?" Dr. Howard asked. One of the alien scientists checked his equipment. "A transmission unlike anything in our records, and it's directed at Earth." Everyone fell silent as the signal grew stronger. Then, something unexpected happened. The humans, present, all looked up simultaneously, their eyes wide with surprise. "You can understand it?" Dr. Salvorn asked. Dr. White nodded slowly. "Yes. It's from them, the ones who engineered us." The first counselor moved forward. "What are they saying?" "They call themselves the precursors," Dr. White explained, his voice filled with wonder. "They existed billions of years ago. They were the first intelligent life in our galaxy." "Were?" an alien scientist asked. "They no longer exist in physical form," Dr. Howard said. "They evolved beyond the need for bodies. But before they did, they seeded many worlds with life. They guided the evolution of species they thought had potential." Dr. White continued. "They created us, and the others who transformed at the same time as their legacy. They left the Omega sequence in our DNA, designed to activate when all the chosen species reached the right level of development." "But why?" the first counselor demanded. "What purpose do you serve?" Dr. White looked at the alien with new understanding. "Not to conquer, to connect. The precursors saw something the Confederation has missed. Life throughout the galaxy shares common origins. We are all related, all part of the same cosmic family." The 18 transformed species are meant to be bridges, Dr. Howard added, between the physical and non-physical, between the past and the future. We can help the Confederation species evolve without losing themselves. The council members looked skeptical. This is difficult to believe, one said. We can show you, Dr. White offered. He held out his hand to the first counselor. With your permission, I can share what we've learned directly. After a moment of hesitation, the ancient alien reached out. When their hands touched, the counselor gasped. Images and feelings flowed between them, the history of the precursors, their hopes for the galaxy's future, their gift of evolution to chosen species. When they separated, the first counselor looked changed. It is true, he told the others. They mean no harm. They offer understanding beyond our science. In the days that followed, more Confederation representatives experienced direct connection with the transformed humans. What began as fear slowly changed to curiosity and then to hope. 1 month later, the Confederation officially recognized Earth and the other 17 transformed worlds as a new group called the Precursor Heirs. Rather than seeing them as a threat, the Confederation now sought their guidance. Dr. White stood with Dr. Xalvorn on the observation deck of the Celestial Seeker, looking down at Earth. When you first analyzed our DNA, you were horrified by what you found, Dr. White said. Dr. Xalvorn's 4 eyes blinked in agreement. We thought you were weapons. We could not have been more wrong. Not weapons, Dr. White said, smiling. Teachers. The next step in a plan billions of years in the making. Dr. Xalvorn looked at his human friend with wonder. And what comes next? Dr. White gazed out at the stars. Connections, understanding, growth. The precursors believed that all life is moving toward a shared destiny. They just gave us a head start on the journey. A journey we can now take together, Dr. Xalvorn said. Far below, the transformed Earth glowed with new purpose. And across the galaxy, 17 other worlds shone with the same light, beacons of what life could become when guided by wisdom billions of years in the making.